Hey guys, Josh here, and as you can see, Legacy has been released. I have recorded some clips of me doing a bit of PKing, did a bit of KBD quickly as well, and so that will be on screen now. I am a pretty awful PKer, and the lag doesn't help at all, but I managed. I think on video I got a kill, and then I also went against an EOC player and actually did fairly well. And then when I was in Rune and went against the guy in Tetsu, and still again, like, I managed to survive pretty much until I ran out of food. So, I guess I'm not awful, but yeah, I've got a long way to go. I definitely want to get a lot better at PKing. It's a lot of fun, and I guess there is a bit of money to be made there. Like, if people start risking AGSs and stuff, you could possibly smite one of those. That'd be really nice. But yeah, Legacy is looking really quite good at the moment, I would say. So I've played maybe 2 or 3 hours at the moment. I did some PKing, I've done Bandos, Corp and KBD in terms of bosses, and I mean, it's looking pretty good. People are saying that the Legacy DPS for bosses is around 50% less than the EOC, which is probably a fair comment. It is noticeably slower, and I think for bosses it's not really Revolution standard, as they said it would be, but obviously it's a beta, it's just come out, so they can adjust the DPS rates, that kind of thing. But I think one thing to remember is when people say 50% lower than the EOC, I'm not sure if they're referring to the live game or the beta, because obviously in the beta they've done all these ability changes to sort of balance them out, possibly lower the DPS as well, in some cases for some of the abilities. So if this based on the beta, then if it's based on the live game, then when the beta actually comes out properly, then the DPS gap will be slightly less probably, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm sure they will sort of buff up the legacy damage slightly in PVM, because in PvP it's pretty perfect, I guess, on the whole. I was getting completely smashed by getting a guy with a chaotic maul, and I was wearing Rune, so I mean, it's nice to see that actually the high level weapons are hitting a lot, especially since I'm in level 40 armor against someone for level 80 weapon. Stuff like the whip, that probably could be buffed a bit. It wasn't hitting too well. AGS completely wrecks. I think some guy hit a 650 on me, and that is my phone. But yeah, I think some guy hit a 650 spec on me. That thing destroys. Darrox could be buffed a bit. I think I risked it on 50 HP around there, and I maxed it a 300 or something like that. So really, Darrox could definitely be improved. If you're risking 10% of your HP, then you probably should be able to put out a 600, because obviously it's rare, and it seems they have actually brought back the kind of pre-EOC defense in PKing, where you do splash a bit more compared to the EOC. So that's nice to see, because it just kind of slows down the pace of the fights. You still do hit a fair bit, and probably you hit a lot more than pre-EOC, but it just helps to sort of just slow it down, make it a bit less fast paced, because I mean, even though it is slightly slower in terms of making, because you hit more zeros, I mean, even then I'm still constantly clicking. I'm never just sitting and waiting, as some people think pre-OC is. Whenever I kind of just put my hand off my mouse, that is when I'm literally getting comboed out, about to die. So I'm always doing something in PKing. It's definitely not click and wait as some people think, but it is a lot of fun PKing. I definitely want to go back and do some more of that. I'll probably try out some different setups. So I think I did a bit of Darrox PKing, I did some Rune PKing as well. Rune isn't too good, even the because when I was using Rune, I was using a whip and an obby shield. The shield didn't seem to be doing much, so maybe they could look at sort of buffing shields. I'm not quite sure what level an obby shield is now, but I was kind of when I'm PKing, I'm kind of using gear that I possibly would risk in the live game, because you see people using Tetsu and their Drygors and stuff like that. I mean, in the live game they're not actually going to risk that, so I'm trying to use sort of gear that I would possibly be willing to lose. So I've got Darrox, I've got Rune. I was using an AGS or claws, which they do actually need to fix claws, because I think in terms of damage, claws are actually pretty decent. They were hitting fairly well on bosses. I did get I think I got a 400 spec on some guy, the claw spec, so I mean the damage is fine, but they do need to sort out the whole it being 2 items thing, and maybe it's just across the game they should make it so you can combine dual wield weapons, because that would help a lot. and it just means you're not risking both of the weapons. You're well, I guess you wouldn't be risking anything at that point. So like if claws was one weapon, like currently claws are two weapons, so you're always risking the offhand if you're Scold. So if they just combine it so it's only one, and it still works as dual wield, that would probably be a bit better, because then you won't be risking like quite a lot of money, because I think offhand claw is like over $1 million now, so I mean that's a fair bit to risk. You don't really want to risk that much, so it'd be nice if you could combine like all the dual wield weapons, just so it's like one invent slot and then one click for spec. They have made it so the claw spec is just if you click the main hand it swaps both, so that's quite nice, but I think they could go one step further and give a combine option on like all dual wield weapons. That would be quite nice, or at least if they're not going to do all of them, claws would be quite good. Also, they have changed some of the animations, so, and also icons, like prayer icons, they've changed the deflects and just protection prayers, the look of those icons, so they're a lot clearer now, and I think they're a bit closer to pre-OC, which is nice. It'd be nice if they changed the Turmoil and Soul Split ones. Like when you look at the pre-OC ones, I mean in my opinion they do look a bit nicer than the ones they have now and a bit more clear, so it'd be nice if they kind of either rework them or like change them back to what they were. In terms of animations, I haven't really seen much. Like when I was using the whip was never one that I really cared for the animation, because although actually to be honest I don't really know the EOC animation that much, like I don't really use a whip, so I think the old whip animation is back though, which is nice, a bit more familiar. I saw people using a maul, and I do love that maul animation. I would literally just buy a Chaosic maul just to try that, because it looks so cool. It's a lot better than the EOC one. It's a lot more unique, so the maul one is really nice. I can't quite remember which other animations they put back, but there's a couple more I think. I'm not sure they changed Ancients yet, I haven't seen that. I'm not sure what else they've changed, but animations are looking fairly good at the moment, I guess. There's a bit of work to be done there, just making everything a bit more fluid, and stuff like AGS spec, it still does take a bit of a while to do, so they could probably, I think just specs in general at the moment take a while to actually perform, so they could speed that up a bit as well. But yeah, like on the whole, Legacy's looking quite good. I need to try out some more bossing as well. I think I managed to get a 2-minute QBD kill, which is actually like faster than my EOC QBD kills as well, so like Legacy has the potential to be really fast, but on average it seems to be quite slow, and quite a bit slower than the EOC as well. So we'll have to wait and see what they do. Obviously this is the first day, it's the release date, they're going to change stuff in the future, fine tune it, but it's definitely a good start. The beta, like there are quite a few bugs they could fix. The beta is really laggy as well, which doesn't help. I'm guessing that's just because like they're not actually used to having people in the wildy. Like there's literally, like, it looks so good just going into wildy and seeing just a mass of white dots there. I do miss that, it looks so cool now. There are a ton of people PKing. I think the top world has like 1,000 people on it, the next one's like 900, and the other ones are like above 500, something like that. So there's a lot of people trying it out, a lot of people PKing and doing all that kind of stuff, so it's good to see people are actually testing it. That's definitely good, and hopefully like people just leave feedback on it, they'll fix some stuff. In terms of like what's actually broken at the moment, there's not too much in my opinion. Like obviously they do need to buff the damage slightly, it looks like, and probably the accuracy a bit as well, although considering that it's based on EOC, then I'm guessing the accuracy is the same, so I'm not quite sure what they can do there. But I did seem to be missing quite a bit in PVM, which shouldn't really be happening, I don't think, so they could probably work on that. It'd be nice if they brought back attack styles like crush, stab, slash, that kind of thing. It's probably a bit more effort to balance, but it'd be nice if they brought that back. There's just some small stuff as well, like how if you have a weapon that doesn't have a spec, it kind of just grays out the bar rather than removing it. Also the balanced and strength like options are the wrong way around, just small stuff like that. They'll probably get around to fixing very soon. The interface, like some people are saying they don't really like the interface, but it looks fine for me. There's a few bugs, like the chat bar, like your name in the chat bar isn't quite like in there, it sort of goes out the line slightly, stuff like that. But on the whole, the interface looks fine to me. It's not quite the pre-EOC one, or like the 2010 one I think it's based on. It's not quite like that, but I mean it's close enough. It looks like it. You could tell, like if you haven't played RuneScape for like 5 years, you could still tell it was RuneScape from that interface. So that looks all fine. And I guess that is basically it. I can't really think of much else. I guess the last thing is, I have looked at the forums a tiny bit, and I think the only people complaining really are the people that thought Legacy should be, or it was going to be, like completely pre-OC. That's what I've seen so far. I mean, I think on the whole most people are liking the beta, and obviously there are a lot of people playing it as well, so Jagex is definitely doing something right. It's definitely looking good, and it only get better over time. I really do hope that it does pass the poll, and I mean by the looks of it probably will. I think they've kind of like done any of the major changes that will affect both Legacy and the EOC, so now it's kind of just fine-tuning Legacy and seeing what they can do with that. But I think that's pretty much it. Leave down in the comments what you guys think of Legacy Beta if you played it. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you later.